All right, guys. I have with me once again, and in case you didn't catch it last night, Happy Accidents, who won a 2-0, now are getting themselves a second 2-0 this evening. So, Park, how does it feel to get back to back 2-0s?
Feels pretty good.
Now, how that series I feel like looked a lot closer than obviously the 2-0 kind of tells. Is that how you feel?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Were you guys ever worried in the second game that you weren't going to be able to make up that deficit where they have the Abathur and then they have the Leo to soak while you guys have yourself coming in for those team fights, feeling like they're kind of baiting you to fight them, and if you don't get those kills, they're going to start snowballing ahead.
Um, yeah. So like they have a really we started winning fights after we got to like 13, 16, I think,
Hmm.
which surprised me because they actually have a bigger spike at 16 than we do with Leoric and Ominous Wraith. Um, really the way that I saw us coming in is either we have to gank the Leo or we have to just force a 5v4 somewhere and then just get just blow someone up with a Dahaka dig before Leoric can get there.
Hmm.
But we ended up just winning fights after 16 somehow, so it just worked out.
Yeah, you guys went on a tear there where you won that team fight, got the bottom keep, and then were able to just finish up uh finish up the game basically from that.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment.
Now, first game, you guys were started off a little bit rougher than obviously in game number two. How were you guys feeling about the early game in going into the mid game since you had obviously lost the first protector and also lost
Um,
the first well?
yeah. So going into the mid game, it was definitely rough. We were also like behind on items as well because we knew they were going to get the 10 and then try to force out the support camp. We ended up stealing the support camp from them, which I think was a really big deal. Getting us 10 was also pretty good. Like getting stage dive on ETC is a really big deal as well. It kept us up in soak the whole time.
Yep.
And apart from like the that period right after the first protector, we basically stayed even or ahead on soak, I think, for the rest of the game. Um, so it was really just us managing to eke out wins where we needed in order to try to stabilize, and then from there, I think we just played fights better.
Yeah, that's definitely what happened there. Were you guys surprised that they let the Alex Straza through, especially when they banned out all those supports simultaneously?
Oh, definitely. Um, I was really surprised that they banned Deckard and then didn't pick up either Alex or Whitemane in their
Mhm.
first rotation, because Deckard tends to do have really good matchups into both Whitemane and Alex because of Emerald at level 7.
Yep.
So I was just like, okay, thanks for the tier 1 support, bud.
Yeah, I did comment about that where it was a little strange where you guys get Alex Straza, there's no White Maid, there's no Decker Kane. It's like you've already gotten the top tier pick. Were you guys a little um wondering why they put so much emphasis on the solo lane bans?
um, I don't know. I mean, like Urel is always gonna be like brutal. So like I understand the Urel. Uh, I don't know. I think like the Blaze was maybe partially a deny as well, but it's not like I feel like I have a shortage of heroes that I can pull out for the offlane.
Hmm.
So it, I don't know. It felt like it worked itself out to be honest. I don't really understand why they put so much emphasis there.
Yeah. Now I take it you guys feel in general like if you can't get Diablo, it seems like Muradin is definitely your go-to pick. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, Muradin is also just a very strong generic pick as well.
Yep.
So you can pick it early on without showing anything in draft, which I quite like.
Yeah, it feels like almost like a year ago before they added armor to tanks. That was really the mentality people had back on Muradin. It was like Muradin, it can just do whatever. He doesn't show anything, and he works in every comp. So we can draft Muradin early and never show anything. And we're kind of like back in that state for tanks. Diablo doesn't necessarily show anything either, but you can be like, well, there's a good chance they'll pick up a Phoenix, to
Mhm.
pair.
Yeah, that's a pretty fair assessment.
Mhm. Were you guys a little concerned when you saw that duo, or are you guys generally comfortable around dealing with the lightning breath and purification salvo?
Game one, I'm surprised they didn't pick up the Phoenix
Hmm.
because they already denied the Blaze to us, and we already had the Alex, so it's not like we could pick up Whitemane for Scarlet Aegis.
Yep.
And there really weren't a whole lot of like other options left for us in order to deny that combo. So like I guess you could pick up like Medivh or something, but that's reaching a little bit.
Yeah.
Game two, it was like it's a solid combo, so like I definitely don't blame them for picking it up, but at the same time, it's not nearly as scary when you have Scarlet Aegis, which is a pretty solid answer.
Yeah, it definitely is. It was Pop Scarlet Aegis and Purification Salvo basically is, wet noodles hitting you instead of the scary damage.
Yeah, definitely.
So is Towers of Doom a map you guys have a decent amount of practice on, since you guys were the ones who actually picked it, or is it just a map that you want to force you and your team to practice on against some good opponents?
Probably a bit of both,
Hmm.
I'd say. Like it's also just a really popular map in general, and there's a lot of different viable strategies on there. So I
Okay.
think it's a good map to practice.
Yeah. And it seemed like you guys had some targeted bans there as well against the average Joes with the Sergeant Hammer bans. I'm assuming you guys did some homework beforehand.
I think they only played Hammer once, but they had it banned against them a couple of other times as well. And also, Hammer is just really annoying to deal with, especially with Chromie completely gone out of the meta.
Yep.
So that was the explanation there.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Now, before we get going, once again, I'd like to give you the opportunity to give any shout outs.
Yeah. So probably just do the same shout outs as last time. So shout out to the team for clutching it out. Shout out to Average Joe's for no particular reason. Shout out to Epic Soars, and shout out to Cavalier Guest in the Nexus Schoolhouse.
All right. Well, thank you so much again, Park, for the interview, and best of luck to your team on for your match on this Sunday, I believe.
Yep. Thanks. Sounds good.
All right. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
You too.
All right, guys. That was Happy Accidents. They took the series 2-0, facing off against Average Joes. Don't let the numbers fool you. It was definitely a good series. It wasn't, any Raffle Stomps or Rafflecopters or Lawler Skates. None of that was being seen. We saw, two teams really duking it out. And unfortunately for Average Joes, Happy Accidents took both of those games. And fortunately for Average Joes, they took both of those games, as that will now make them actually 12-4, which should, I believe we're doing win percentage is actually how the standings are. So 12-4 might be enough to actually put them up there. I'm not going to do the math, but it should be either 100% tied against ZZZ or give them an edge. So we're not done yet this evening. I have another cast. We have a DG Wheelchair coming up next at 10 o'clock versus For the Kill. So stick around. It'll be ready to go in about 12 minutes. I do the coin flip about 5 minutes before the series. So I hope you will all stick around for the match. If you don't, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you'll come back for other shoutcasts. And if you enjoyed it, hit follow. If you really enjoyed it, hit subscribe. And if you have any feedback, feel free to let me know what you're thinking. Am I ass? Am I great? Am I mediocre? What would you like to see improved? What did you hate? Any of those things, feel free to let me know. And once again, thank you so much. And if you don't know where you are, please see a medical professional, because you've been on this channel hopefully for quite a while now watching this series. In the meantime, I'm going to pop open the replays from last game so you can have something to enjoy in the meantime until the next series begins.